What's going on, everyone? Juicebags here, and welcome back to some Dungeon Defenders 2 and another Hero Spotlight. Today we're going to be taking a look at the mighty Hero Damage Squire. With the Barbarian being a thing, the Squire just doesn't get as much love as he deserves, and he can be an extremely effective hero. If you like melee hack and slash type gameplay, the Squire just may be the one for you. The Squire's got a lot of versatility. He has some, you can set him up to do some semi-decent range damage against flyers, plus just an absolute beast with the ability to block massive amounts of damage. Now this is going to be a hero damage build, so as with all hero damage builds, you can start using it right out of the gates. Right as soon as you enter Chaos 1, just make sure you have hero damage on all your pieces. If this build matches your playstyle, you're going to be able to use it through your entire Dungeon Defenders experience, and the more pieces of the puzzle that you get, of course, the stronger your Squire will be. So by all means, don't hesitate to start early and get up there and smack down some bads with your Squire. So let's hop right on into the build. We are going to be taking advantage pretty heavily of two shards. We're going to be using Howling Feast. Your primary attacks generate 1 feast stack, while at 10 stacks increases your hero damage by 30%, and 1 stack wears off every 3 seconds. Now sadly, unlike Crane Stance and some of the other shards, there's no on-screen indicator for how many stacks you have. However, there is an audio cue when you hit the 10 stacks. So tough to hear a lot of times unless you're really listening for it. However, once you get to that 10 stacks, you're going to increase your overall hero damage by 30%. This is just a huge raw increase in damage. And then we're going to be using the Betsey's Beam. Betsey's Beam is going to give us some range damage as primary attacks fire a piercing sonic projectile that deals 150% hero damage as magic damage. Only one of these shards may be active at a time. Now what this is referring to is the sword. I know a lot of folks will bring up, well, why not use the sword and save yourself a shard slot? And that is Betsey's Blast. So Betsey's Blast and Betsey's Beam do not stack with each other. In addition to that, Betsey's Blast is quite inferior to Betsey's Beam. As you can see here, if this was a 10 out of 10 mod, it would only be 82.5% hero damage, where Betsey's Beam, you're getting 150% right out of the gates just with an ungilded shard. So it's a Chaos 4 shard, super strong. It also is going to give us some ranged DPS where we're able to take flyers down. Howling Feast is going to be available in Chaos 6, and once again, it's not a shard that you just gotta have right out of the gates. So don't go out of your way to get this shard, but once you do get it, it is going to give you an overall increase in your damage. And then I've got Burning Strikes in there. Although Burning Strikes is a very nice DPS shard, I've got mixed emotions on it, whether or not I'd rather have Drenching in it. Of course, Drenching Strikes, if you went with that, it would combo with the Beacon of the Storm that we're also going to be using for the Electrocute combo. However, I am going with Burning Strikes for that additional burn damage. Plus, we all know the Drakenlord's a pain in the butt, and Burning Strikes is the easy mode answer to dealing with the Drakenlord. So by having Burning Strikes in there, it doesn't matter if that boss spawns, I don't have to switch to another hero. That one, of course, is available in Chaos 5. Now, before we get through to the rest of the shards, let's take a look at the gear. As I mentioned, this is a hero damage build, so you're going to want hero damage on every single one of your pieces. Now, the difference here is obviously hero damage automatically comes on your sword. You're going to want to go hero health there. In addition to that, you have to get to your own comfort level in hero health. The Squire is a melee hero, so he's going to be up close and personal, which means he's going to be taking damage. So if you don't feel comfortable at your Ascension with the hero health that you have, you're going to want to throw hero health on a couple of pieces of armor as well. Now, I went with a light swing speed sword. The reason I went with a light swing speed sword is, once again, we're going to be relying on that Howling Feast. This is a little trick that Nick disliked to use on his Beast Mode Squire. And that is, if you go with a light sword, you can really keep your Howling Feast stacks up almost all the time. Once again, once you get it to 10 stacks, you get the buff. If you drop to 9 stacks, you get 0 buff. So you want to keep that Howling Feast stacked up at all times, and having a light weapon allows you to do this a little bit more readily, as the swing speed is faster. You get lots and lots of people talking about the percentage on swords, the little dial directly under the logo. Now this is a swing speed modifier, the fastest being 20% and the slowest being 0%. The higher the number, the faster the weapon will swing. Now, there is no better. It's situational to a build. A lot of people will tell you, oh, well, I've got a 20%er. A 20%er is not any better than a 5%er unless that is how you're using it. In this particular build, a higher number would be better as it would increase the swing speed. I'm going with this one with the low swing speed just because that percentage is completely negligible amount of damage. In fact, you can't even notice the difference without having those two images side by side swinging at each other, and it's going to be a just very, very small change in effectiveness. Now, once again, this is a build that I wanted a faster swing speed, so a higher number would have been better. And, you know, I'm not going to lie, I was going for the entire Sith Lord look right here on the Squire, so, you know, you just got to have you a lightsaber. And although it doesn't have perfect rolls on it, it is getting the job done for me. Now, Squire weapons are normalized pretty close, really, compared to all of the other heroes. A Squire weapon, light, medium, or heavy, is going to have very, very similar damage numbers, almost identical. So definitely use the weapon that you like the swing speed the best. The reason I'm using light is 100% just for the Howling stacks. Howling Feast you want to keep stacked at all times. Now on the shield, of course the shield doesn't matter. The shield's just a little extra stat stick and gives us the ability to block. I'm going with Block Power, increases the blocking power of the shield by 25, and Enduring Provocation. Enduring Provocation would be the only required shard here. It's in Chaos 5, you can use any other shard that you want to put in there. Before we move any further, somebody's going to bring up the Unholy Fire shard, because, you know, who doesn't want to shoot fire out of their shield? This shard looks absolutely awesome, however, it is completely ineffective gameplay. First off, it's an ability power shard, so it wouldn't work with this particular build. Even if I was stacked with ability power, it does really, really poor amounts of damage. So I don't really suggest that shard other than just for novelty purposes on any type of Squire that you build. Now let's get back into we'll go through all of the shards first. There's a lot of really optional shards here. The headpiece is no different. There's one shard that I do recommend, and that is Power of Storms from Chaos 6. If you don't have Power of Storms, something like Mana Capacitor would work just fine. Basically, you're going to be spamming your number 2 or your taunt ability over and over and over again. So you want enough mana to keep that flowing. Now with Power of Storms equipped, this gives you 100% uptime. The taunt itself does last for longer than the cooldown is, as you see just from that shield shard alone. Our provoke lasts an additional 7.5 seconds. Well, just from that shard alone, we are going over what the cooldown is on the provoke ability. So it's 100% uptime. You're going to want to spam it 100% of the time. And of course, with Power of Storms in the mix, we're going to be getting back 20 mana per second for 3 seconds. So we're going to get back 20 mana every second, which is 120 mana, of course, every 6 seconds for an ability that only costs 50 mana. So we're going to have 100% uptime, we're never going to run out of mana, and we're always going to be provoking all of those enemies. Moving right on to the gloves, as with any DPS hero, Critical Strike, it's, you know, it's bread and butter, throw it in there. Just about any hero damage hero, I will always use Beacon of the Storm as well, because it's just free additional damage. It does come in the form of storm damage, so if you go with something like Drenching Strikes on your sword, you're also going to be creating that electrocute combo just from your Beacon of the Storm. And then I got construction on there, as I do like to do a lot of upgrades during the combat phase, and this helps speed those along. In the chest. Now, the Squire has got a very unique shard to him that is one of the best shards in the game. There's no doubt about it. And that is Fight Me Not. Defenses will deal 29% more damage since it's gilded to enemies targeting the Squire. Now, once again, we are going to be spamming Provoke every time it's up. So there's always going to be lots of enemies targeting us. This is going to make every defense that hit those enemies hit 29% harder. It's just free, raw, massive damage boost. And it's, in my opinion, it is one of the best hero-specific shards in the game overall. Just to increase that armor value a little bit more, we are going to go with Bulwark. And then, as with most hero damage builds, Power Gambit is going to be the one for you. Increases your hero damage by 50%, but increases damage taken from enemies by 20%. And then in the boots, we've got our regular speed boost for quality of life. And then we got Swift Provocation, which is another campaign shard. You're going to have plenty of these laying around. It's not a massive boost. It only increases your movement speed by 154 while under Provoke. However, it's something. It's free speed. Might as well take it. We all know there's a massive deficiency in boot shards. And this one is kind of a no-brainer for the Squire. Get to running a little bit quicker. We already went through all of the weapon and the shield shards, so let's hop right on over to the mods for the build. The ideal setup is going to be healthy power, damage buff, and light chip since I'm using a light weapon. If you're using a medium weapon, you'd want medium chip. If you're using a heavy weapon, you'd want heavy chip, and etc. Since I'm using a light weapon, I'm going to go with that light chip with the healthy power and the damage buff chip. Now, damage buff does get applied from our Provoke ability, which we're going to have up 100% of the time, meaning this one is always going to be working. Healthy power chip, of course, anytime we're above 90% health, so let's just stay above 90% health, and we'll call it good there. You're going to want these mods on all of your pieces. As you see, I'm not completely fine-tuned. I've got that crappy tenacity and a crappy light chip on those gloves. And however, I do have healthy power, damage buff, and light chip on the remaining pieces. Now, looking at this setup that I do have, and as you see, I don't have perfect mods. I've got, one 10 out of 10, one light chip, one damage buff chip, and then I've got 2 of them here on the chest. So my mods are nowhere near ideal. They're not perfect, and we can still just dish out the pain on this Squire. For the sword, there's only one required mod, and that is the Focused Power Chip. Focused Power Chip you're going to want to use at 10 out of 10 Chaos 8. It's 60% increased damage for each ability on cooldown. Once again, we're going to be spamming our Provoke, so our Provoke is always going to be on cooldown. So even with this 8 of 10 quality Chaos 7 variety Focused Power, we're getting almost 40% additional weapon damage all the time. So that's just there. It's a raw damage increase. Focus Power is the required mod for this entire build. Now, as you see here, I'm going with Critical Chip and Crit Damage Chip. Those other 2 are 100% completely optional. Now, if you are planning on doing like an onslaught push, you're going to want to add some crowd control type mods in. So you would want to get rid of Critical Chip and Crit Damage Chip, and then go with something like Frostfire Remnants and Drakenlord's Soul would be a very nice combination to have for an onslaught push. Now, once again, as I mentioned, we're going with that light so we can keep our Howling Feast active. There's no stacks, there's no icon, there's nothing that shows it. However, there's a very dull, and that was it right there, a very dull roar that goes off in the background. It's very easy to miss. However, that is your Howling Feast proccing. So you're going to want to listen for that. Once that procs, you don't want to go 3 seconds without smacking an enemy. Now, one thing is your ranged attack from the shard does not count. So if you're not up in somebody's face smacking it, you're going to lose your buff and you're going to have to restack it. Now, it does hold those other charges, it just does lose that one charge every 3 seconds, so it is pretty easy to get them stacked back up with the light ship. However, just take a look at the effectiveness of this build. So once again, we're going to keep our taunt up 100% of the time, and you can just dish out really nice damage just with your number 2 ability and keeping it up all the time. So we're bouncing between like, what, 20 million and 35 million DPS just with the taunt. Now, of course, if we pop Dragolich, not only are we going to do double damage, but we will have another item on cooldown for that focused power mod. So as we're spamming away here and just ripping out the damage, we can go ahead and stack it up with Drago as well, and then we're going to see numbers up really close to that 100 million mark. As far as Ascension goes, you'd want to kind of just follow the basic rules of Ascension. In the utility category, any hero damage hero, you're going to want to go with hero crit chance first, and then hero crit damage. Ability mana and movement speed are both things that you're going to want to spec into. However, these are more on the quality of life things and not required. Now, since you will be blocking every now and then, by all means, increase that shield block power. On the defense category, you just want to go with the setup that you are using for a defense on that hero. And then in the offense category, the first thing you want to do is increase the provoke duration. It's 20 points into it, but prior to getting that shield shard, which is in Chaos 5, those 20 points are what is going to be required to give yourself the 100% uptime when you are at a lower level. So definitely throw your 20 points, first things first in offense, directly into provoke duration. Now from here, you're going to want to go into hero health, and you're going to want to get yourself to the point that you're comfortable. That number is going to be different for everybody. Of course, I've got the Ascension, so I've got it maxed out. However, you're definitely going to want to get to your comfort level in hero health. After that, everything else should go directly into hero damage. I'm filling them out as I go. I do love using Seismic Slam, even though since this is an ability power build, it's relatively ineffective as far as a source of damage. However, it's fun to use, and it's still a stun, so I still do use it. So I went into the Seismic Slam stun duration. So hopefully this helps everyone build out their Squire. It can be just an incredible DPS hero. If you ask some of the folks that are at the very top of the leaderboard, like Nictus, what the best DPS hero is, he is going to tell you the Squire. Now, obviously, saying what's the best of anything is opinion-based, and best can be qualified in many different ways, depending on what you're looking for out of a hero. However, there is no doubt the Squire is an absolute beast, so don't go and neglect him. If you like the hack and slash, get your Squire build going and wreck it out, as you can just put out some massive amounts of damage. So that will do it for now. Thank you all an absolute ton for watching. Make sure to click that like button, please subscribe to the channel, and I will be back soon with more Dungeon Defenders 2. Thanks again, I'll see you next time.